I would be lying to you guys if I didn't tell you that I be struggling having kids and owning a business. If you don't know, I own 2 or 3 type of businesses, really. Like, I own phone stores in Philadelphia. I also own a wholesale distribution company where I wholesale products to resellers and also major companies that work with T-Mobile and AT&T. I also phone flip, so I have a phone buyback company. Now, I remember I said this one thing to this girl that I ended up having kids with, and I met her when I was on a rise in my business, right? And one thing about me is I always, and I'll probably get into this a little bit more later, but I always wanted the bad girl. I always wanted the girl that looked really, really good, flawless, right? And I got that. I got the type of woman that when she walks into the room, everybody stares and all of that, right? So I remember looking over to her and being like, yo, now she had a kid before she got with me, right? She had a kid. And see, one thing about me, I always told myself I would never date a woman that had another child. That was like my biggest rule. Now I deal with them, I'll date them, but I would never ever have intentions of being with them, long term if they had a child. But the looks overrode this in this situation. Plus, me feeling like I was the man. I felt like I was Jay-Z and I needed my Beyonce next to me. And I remember sitting next to this woman and saying to her, hey, why? Because she wanted to be an entrepreneur as well. And I think that's what drew her to me. I don't think my looks drew her to me. I don't think that the way I spoke, the way I think it was just more so, oh man, the idea of being with a successful entrepreneur. Like when I look back on it, right? But anyway, I remember driving in my nice car with her to like the mall, I believe. And I remember asking her, why you think that you're not a successful entrepreneur yet? Like, why do you think your business ain't off the ground? And I remember her saying, because I got a kid, and the kid changed a lot of my momentum. And I remember looking over to her and saying, stop giving me them excuses. That's what I said to her. Like, don't give me that excuse. A kid is not going to change your momentum. A kid is not going to stop your business. A kid is not going to affect you to the point to where you can't be successful. And now, as I look back on what I said, I sort of kind of like to I often think back on things that I said and thoughts that I had just to critique myself, right? Because some things that I say ain't right. And I was completely wrong about the momentum aspect. She was right? Like, having a kid makes owning a business 10 times harder, let alone multiple. And it has nothing to do with the children being like technically a burden or, feeling like, oh, I regret having kids. It has nothing to do with that. It's more so like when you have a child, the responsibility becomes more hard as a individual, and you start to realize that you got to work on yourself more than you work on your business, because you got a little kid looking at your every move, not just a business that is affected by every move you make, but now you got somebody that actually you gotta teach how to be a human. You gotta also be a good human so you can lead, and you also gotta provide. And I would be lying to you guys if I told you being a parent isn't kicking my ass. Being a parent is kicking my ass as an entrepreneur. And I go through this on a daily basis, like where I tell myself positive things and all that. But I've spent years on and off in relationships with the mother of my children. I've have had traumatic experiences, both done to me and both that I've done to her as well. I've had situations where disloyalty was shown, and I still, no matter what, had to wake up and be a good dad. Now, if you don't know, I have 2 children, Paris and Nyla. I wouldn't replace them or backtrack, what I've done at all. My son, and let's make this clear, none of my children were like a trap. And I only say that because I want to emphasize that I've done this to myself. I had kids not on my own, but I chose to have kids. That girl that I said, had a kid already and all of that, I loved her. I started to love her because I started to realize that, dang, like, she was a support system at that time, right? She was supporting me and all of that. So I was like, yeah, I could do this for life. Like, I could really bang with her, right? I could look past her having a child and all that. So, and that was an immature mindset of, not accepting somebody with a child, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is not because my preference is wrong, but because the reasoning I had of it was kind of stupid. But nevertheless, having kids and owning businesses is hard because I have a daughter and I have a son, right? And, my son has different needs than my daughter, and my daughter has different needs than my son. And sometimes I find myself trying to be a dad more than trying to be a businessman, which is literally what's needed, right? Like, and your business is a child of its own. Your business needs love. Your business needs time. I've spent years without seeing my kids on a consistent basis because I'm arguing with their mom or going back and forth with their mom. And I've lost a lot of healthy moments in my life stressing over my children or stressing over which to choose. And let me explain. So I own a phone store. My kids go to school let's say they go to school at 6 a.m. I have to be there to open my store. I got to be there to close my store. I can't take my kids to school all the time. But then it's like, all right, cool. Let's say I do take my kids to school, right? If I take my kids to school or pick my kids up from school, who's at my store? I'm losing money no matter what. If I lose money, I can't buy them new shoes for my child. If I can't buy those shoes for my child then starts to look like he's not taken care of or she's not taken care of. All right, boom. What's the next example? Next example is this. Summertime comes, who's going to watch my children? If I watch my children, they got to sit in the store with me, which I've done. And they sit in the store with me and it becomes dangerous. And I've had experiences where I've learned that having my kids in my store is a liability. I've had customers try and spray mace in my daughter's eyes. I've had customers try and hurt and harm my children. So like a lot of traumatic things have happened in that aspect because I did try to be that dad that just took my children to work all the time. Now I still show my children, how to be their own boss, and I let them come with me to the post office sometimes. But like that type of lifestyle, as far as a business owner and always trying to like travel and meet buyers, I can't take my kids to travel and meet buyers. I can't take my kids to do so. Like, it's a lot of times where it's like, damn, I can't really do as much as I want with my children. And, as men, we're looked at as deadbeats when we don't spend so much time with our kids, but yet we're looked at as worthless when we don't have the money to take care of them. And, as a 9-to-5 worker, I probably would be able to be more lenient. But then again, I probably would have a little trouble because at the time I was the only one that had a car. So and it would be times where if I was working a 9-to-5, if my kids needed to be picked up, I would have to clock out and go and get my kids. You see what I'm saying? Middle shift, middle of the shift, or maybe before lunch, because I didn't have time to wait to pick my kids up. I would have to pick my kids up whenever, they get out of school. So it was like I was being pulled so many different ways, and it's affected me so much as an entrepreneur. And like, Now, yes, I've been able to spend money to make things more convenient for me, but this is back when I didn't have a lot of money, when I was just building as an entrepreneur. I'm still building. But like, I have 2 children. Children cost a lot of money. And, you know, I can't flex and do everything that I wanted to do or what I've been doing before. Prime example, I used to show a bunch of money in my thumbnails on Educated Hustler, right? But then what I ended up doing was showing all this bread and my car getting robbed. And then I'm like, dang, well, I'm putting my kids at harm's way when I show a whole bunch of money, because now people think that I have all of this money on me, you know, physically when I go places or even at my stores. I got people outside plotting to rob me and stuff. Like, being a parent and an entrepreneur is hard, and it's stressful, and it's lonely, and it's a consistent test. Because my son, hey, Dad, I want to do something with you. Could we hang out? Hey, my daughter's like, hey, Daddy, can we cook together? Like, all of these things happen, and it's like, as a parent, you get overwhelmed. And I don't want this video to just be about complaining. I want to talk to you guys about how I resolve real quick a lot of these issues that I have. Spending time, I like to make a schedule. Like, I've learned that from a bunch of successful people that are in corporate America, is they have busy days just like I do, right? And they have Google Meet calendars and, you know, time slots where they put aside for their children and family. I've started that. Like, start being organized and having a calendar where you're actually setting aside a certain time. Treat it just like a job. And, you know, have days where you take them out places during the weekend. Set time frames aside where you are just locked into your family and your children, because if you're not, you'll lose them. You'll lose your children. Your children will start feeling like they're not a priority in your life, and you don't want that. The next thing is expenses. Like, my kids don't just get whatever they want because I'm still building, right? And they understand that. And it's hard for my children sometimes for them to realize that they can't get Gucci stuff or a Tesla truck yet. But again, I instead of me just splurging on my children, I tend to like show them my everyday business lifestyle. So I'll have them come with me to my store, come with me to the post office, or join me on a video call and just watch me work, so they understand how hard it is for me to make money. You know, I don't want them to ever think that money grows on trees. And I also want them to understand that they can do exactly what I'm doing, and they don't have to be a firefighter or a police officer. They can also be an entrepreneur and be a business owner. Now, that doesn't have to be what they be, and they can still be those great career, you know, go on those great career paths. But I just want to give them the options or tell them the options that nobody ever told me. And being a parent is very hard. It's very hard, especially being a single parent. I know it's hard. Being a parent that's working with somebody else that may not have as much as you is very hard. Taking care of a whole family by yourself is very hard. Keep your head up and start planning, you know, and let people know that it's all about sacrifice and understanding what is going to have to be put on the back burner for right now and what has to come to the forefront. Your business should always be up there, though, because your business is what's going to make sure that your kids can you know, live comfortably and be able to be provided for, right? So I never put my business last. I never put my mental health last either, because if I'm not mentally stable, I can't take care of my kids in the first place. And that was what I was doing in the beginning, was putting my mental behind, and I started feeling depressed and going through some crazy times where I just wasn't happy. So yeah, so guys, I'll be bringing more videos, and again, thank you so much for watching this channel. This channel is vlogs. It's a bunch of just things like this where I'm giving you guys my insight and lessons that I've learned, so you guys can hopefully utilize some things that I tell you to put inside your life to avoid the pitfalls and failures that I had to go through.